makes sense to find a piano in a piano store, and it also makes sense to find a piano in a store where other musical instruments are sold. So it shouldn't really come to much of a surprise that there is a piano at August Muse in downtown Elizabethton, Tennessee. This is kind of, I think of it as like a variety shop. You have musical instruments for sale, you have musical supplies, there's sheet music, there's digital pianos, but they also do tea, they have an art gallery, there's a ballet studio that's part of it. Like, there's several different art forms that come into one place here. And so it makes sense for you to find a piano here, but for me it feels like a lot of modern piano stores, or stores that have modern pianos, are boring. They're not interesting. They are boring black pianos that all look the same and usually sound the same and are not that interesting. And at its core, this piano that I have here is not that interesting either. It's a cheaply made Hampton piano from an unknown era, and we'll talk about why I don't know very much about it in a little bit. But it's pretty. They've painted it. It spends part of its life as an outdoor piano. They've painted up the front, they've painted up the bottom, they've painted the back panel that you'll see in a little bit. It looks cute, and it livens up the store. You've got an art gallery over there, and you've got an art gallery on a piano that you can come over and play. And although it is a cheaply made piano, like, it is a bargain basement piano, your soundboard looks like it's made of plywood. It plays very well. The action feels fantastic to play for an upright piano. And the sound isn't bad. It's bright and harsh, but it's very well in tune. The owner tells me that she moves this piano inside and outside all day long. Not all day long, but very often. She puts it outside in front of the store to be an outdoor piano, brings it in at night, brings it in when the weather's bad, brings it in today. When I first found it, it was inside the store. Moving a piano inside and outside like that is not what they're meant for. The humidity shifts and temperature changes would wreak havoc on the piano. The fact that this piano is in a very good tune, despite not having been tuned for about a year, shows that not all parts of this piano are cheap. The pin block is probably reasonably high quality, or at least holds a tune very well despite massive humidity changes, because this piano, although it is out of tune, you would expect it to have been tuned more often than last year, and having it being an outdoor piano. So, let's move this piano across the room because it's on handy little dollies. You can just push it across the room and it goes. So let's move it into a different place and take it apart, check out the inside, and have a listen to what it sounds like. From what little information I've been able to glean online, there appears to be some kind of connection between Hampton and Story & Clark. The two companies may have been connected at one point. I also believe that one of the original founders of the Story & Clark company, way back in the day, his first name was Hampton. So there also may be some connection with that. Hampton may have been a lower line of pianos, kind of like how Steinway has Boston and Essex, which are lower tier pianos under a different name. Other companies have done similar things too, and Hampton may have been Story & Clark's lower end line of pianos. That was just something that popped in my head just now. Maybe that's where Hampton comes from. If you know anything about Hampton, please let me know. I can't find very much information at all online about them, which is kind of weird. It's very weird, actually, because it's not an old or obscure piano brand. It's very strange. The inside of this piano is incredibly clean. For a piano that's likely from the 80s, it is spotless inside. I think it's very interesting to see how a cheap piano has aged, right? I think it's fair to say that this piano was not trying to be a quality piano when it was new. It was trying to be an affordable, entry-level instrument for a new musician or for somebody who wanted to buy their first piano. And instruments like that have their place. And it's really interesting to look inside of it and see the way that it is made and the way that it is built. To me, it just exudes affordability. The hammers, I don't know what it is about them, they just look cheap to me. They don't have an inner core. They don't have an inner core like most hammers do on most pianos. The keys, when you pick them up and take them out, they just feel, they're light. And that's probably what's contributing to the lightness of the action, is these keys are like, they weigh nothing. They weigh nothing. They are incredibly, incredibly light. And maybe it's just been ages since I've taken out a piano key, but I always remembered them feeling a little bit heavier than this one does. Because this piano has spent some of its time outside, we do have some tarnishing on the bass strings. They are not consistently weathered. Some of them are darker in coloration than others of them, but overall they sound pretty good. A piano of this height, even when brand new, even with brand new strings, would never have a great sounding bass. I don't think it sounds bad though for the size of piano and for what it is. The tone of the bass, it's adequate. The tone of the piano overall is remarkably bright, and it is very fun to play. I think if you voiced the hammers down, made them a little bit softer, a little bit more mellow, it would be a very nice sounding little piano for what it is. For right now, it's very bright, it's very harsh, it's very piercing, and that is what you want for an outdoor piano. You need to compete with the sound of traffic, you need to compete with the sound of ambient noise, and bright and loud and punchy is what you would want for that, so that's perfect. Something about the finish of the harp as well helps me understand that this piano was probably from the 70s or the 80s. During that time, there was a very large conglomerate company called Aeolian, and they just started gobbling up all these different piano companies, and to be able to make instruments for all of these different companies, they consolidated lots of stuff. So the harps were made all by the same company, as far as I know. They all looked the same anyway. They all had this bumpy, gritty sandpaper texture that was most likely a byproduct of the way those harps were manufactured very quickly and very cheaply. They work. The harp has survived perfectly fine over the 40 years that it has existed, so certainly it works. But I believe that this is a very inexpensive piano from the time. One of the things on this piano that is incredibly janky is the mount for the front panel that goes on and covers all of this. It's just a large wood screw, large machine screw here, that is kind of loose and wobbly, doesn't really exude confidence, and then on the other side it is a completely different screw. This one almost looks factory, where it's not a screw with exposed threads, it's like a post. It is a screw, but there's like, about this much of smooth metal that your front panel hooks on, whereas this one is just a replacement, like big fat wood screw that just went in there. So a little bit janky. Someone in here has done some reconditioning to the piano. Hopefully that lasts a little while, but I don't have a ton of confidence in it. Let's put that front panel on and leave it on. While I can't find very much information about this piano online or Hampton in general, I was talking with the owner of the store just now, and she told me that when she researched Hampton, what she found is that this model of piano, or Hamptons in general, at this time were made for being placed in schools. They were institutional pianos, right? Practice room pianos for elementary schools, music rooms, things of that nature. They were institutional pianos. And that tracks. That makes a lot of sense. That explains why this piano is made of really low-tier materials. Not only are they trying to make it affordable and approachable for institutions that probably don't have a ton of money to buy fancy new pianos, but also if you're putting this in a school, in a classroom, where little children are going to put their grubby hands all over it and sit on the keys and try to play it with their toes and lick the piano and do all sorts of horrible things to it, why would you want to put a nice piano in there? Not that they don't deserve it, of course, but in an unsupervised environment like that, or partially unsupervised, who knows what's going to happen to it? Who knows what liquids are going to pour inside of the piano? It would be a terrible thing to get a Steinway B and give it to a bunch of toddlers and let them eat it, right? So having a low-tier piano like this in a classroom or things like that, that is built to be played on and built to be... Because I feel like the action, I feel like the action in general, perhaps, there weren't a ton of corners cut. People who know more about this piano would probably say otherwise. However, with how well it's aged, with how well it still plays after 40 years, I don't know. There might be something going on in there with that. But with this being an institutional piano, that makes a lot of sense. It really does. A low-quality piano like this is a great candidate for an outdoor piano, or at least something to paint up in fun colors and brighten the space that it is in. You could throw all kinds of money at this piano, and at the end of the day, it would never become much better than it was when it was new. It is a relatively short piano, so you throw new bass strings on it, and it'll still sound like a short little piano with short bass strings. You put new hammers on it, and it would probably have a warmer tone and be a little bit better, but it's, at the end of the day, a cheap piano with what appears to be like a plywood soundboard. We're not working with high-quality materials here, so it is what it is. And I love the paint job. I think the paint job really highlights and accentuates the piano, and it makes it very cute. You have I'll show you some better images of it, but there's like a river scene on the bottom panel. There's a sky scene on the top panel. On the sides, there's also like forest paths and things. And on the back panel, there's a big painting of a really pretty pink bicycle. So it's very vibrant, very pretty. And we also have art on the walls in the shop. So it really blends in and really livens up the space. Originally, this piano would likely not have been black. This black finish is not original. It's been painted on by hand. You can see brush strokes on the top lid. It was likely a wood color originally. It probably had a thin veneer of wood that it was probably some shade of brown. Probably brown, because most wood is brown. Let me know in the comments, when did piano black become standard? Because now, like, you'll look at, like, technology, right? You'll look at a new car, you'll look at a TV monitor, and any part of it that is shiny black plastic is marketed as being piano black. Like, we just associate shiny black stuff with the piano. And I don't know when that started. I have no idea. I would like to know. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video and tour of this little Hampton upright piano that remains a bit of a mystery. While this caliber of pianos and this type of instrument are not very interesting, the low-tier nuggets of the piano world, what makes this one interesting is that it has lived a good life and it remains loved to this day. I think it's probably fair to say that most of these types of instruments that were put in institutions, these low-quality instruments that were built to just be made for the sake of being made, are probably gone. Most of them have lived a hard life and were not restored or loved after their use, after their time was up. This one is still around, and people love it. It's got beautiful artwork on it. It still sounds decent. It is very fun to play. It holds its tune remarkably well, so there are some components to it that are pretty quality. And at the end of the day, all of those things come together to create a very cute little piano. Is it the world's greatest piano? No. Is it even a good piano? Arguably no, but I like it. It can play all sorts of different types of music, and it is fun to play. And at the end of the day, I think playing the piano is really all about having fun. So even if you don't have the highest quality piano, if you have fun playing it, that's what really matters. Thank you very much to the folks at August Muse for letting me come here and spend too much time playing the piano really loudly and making a bunch of noise. This is a wonderful little shop if you like music, if you're in need of music supplies, they have plenty. If you like art, they have a bunch of art. They are actually taking down the art, unfortunately, so the blue lobster painting I liked is now gone. But they will have more art here again, so come by if you like visual art, if you like music, if you like dance, if you just want to hang out and talk to cool people for a little bit. Come by and check out this place. It is awesome. They'd probably let you come play the piano and experience it for yourself if you're in the area. So, whatever you feel like doing here, feel free to come visit, meet the cool people, and play the wonderful little piano. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much to the viewers like you at home who make these videos possible. I couldn't do it without you, and I will see you in the next video. I've got several other videos about the other interesting pianos in Elizabethton. There's a surprising amount of them, and nobody here seems to know that they're there. So, we'll go explore them together in some of my other videos, and I'll see you there. Thank you very much for watching.